on, tell me, let me guess, you were from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound
I have a good friend of mine, Hunter Hughey. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, man. Hunter's a good friend of mine. I think I was thinking about the other day. We're probably one of my longest-term friends that I can think of as far as like keeping track of.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Still friends from back in middle school. Hunter's from Greenville, South Carolina, back from my home state. You guys hear me talk a lot about comparing Greenville and Memphis, so we'll get into that a little bit today. And but Hunter is president and owner of Marchant Property Management out of Greenville, South Carolina, and I think we're just going to jump right in. I'm not a man for a lot of words, so let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Where your background, how'd you got started, kind of your career.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. Grew up in Greenville, been there all my life, so I don't really know any different, but I love Greenville. I went to Greenville High School, went to Clemson University, and then from there, basically, I started out in the banking industry. So I worked there for about 18 months, and then I got into the commercial appraisal business. I guess for about 11 years, ended up doing it. And I actually stumbled into property management. Buddy of mine was doing it just kind of very, very part-time, had about 20 properties. So I said, hey, the appraisal business is a little slow. Why don't you let me just handle those 20 properties and you go focus on selling? He said, absolutely, let's go. So, I started with about 20 properties, while I was still doing the commercial appraisal business. And just one thing led to another. We just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then eventually I just had to make a decision on which career path I wanted to go. And thankfully I made the right decision to get into property management.
And how long have you been doing property management?
That would have been 2005 is when I started part-time.
Okay. And what, how many properties do y'all manage? What kind of properties? What's the kind of the demographic there?
Sure. So we manage all single-family homes. We have a small apartment complex, 22 units, but that's about as big as we get. We will do, similar type units to that, duplex, triplex, stuff like that, all residential. And we manage about 400 properties now in Greenville. So we'll go, technically really about as low as $800, and that's usually a one bedroom.
Yeah.
Up to, $3,000 and up.
Wow.
For rentals.
Yeah, I think our average in Memphis is right at $750. Is
that like 3-bedroom home, 2-bath?
That's even a 3-bedroom. Yeah. So we got a mix. Of course, we have apartments that are $350, $400, $550. A lot of our 2-bedroom houses are $500 to $650.
Right.
And then 3-bedrooms start at probably $700 plus, but the average is $750. So you got a tremendous difference in the
that's very interesting.
Asset class.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
we focus on in here, but so tell me about, because I remember, you started real estate really before I did. So
Yeah.
tell the audience, because part of what we try to do is just tell people stories about our past and what we've learned and
Sure.
what not to do and what to do, and so just as much focus on the slip ups, I call them the opportunities.
Yep.
Not failures.
Learning lessons.
Learning lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tax you pay for doing this stuff. So
Sure.
tell us about your first deal or deals that because I feel like you did more than one, but
Yeah, I remember the first one for sure. So it was when I was in my banking career, a short banking career. It was in 1995, so I was 22 years old, and me and another buddy from the bank. And I can't even remember exactly how I got into real estate or got excited about it. But honestly, I can't remember exactly how I got fired up about real estate. But he and I, talked and said, "Hey, let's try to invest." And obviously, I caught the bug because we had our we formed an LLC, and it was ER Properties, and ER is for early retirement. So I was going to buy up a bunch of them and retire early. But so we started in January 95. We bought a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo in a really good area of town. It's just like a bad complex in that area, surrounded by great properties,
right,
or very expensive, nice homes. So I think it was around $20,000. So that's kind of how we got started, just me and a buddy. And I think I think we ended up putting, whatever, 10% each down, a couple grand, and the bank financed the rest of it. And that was our start in real estate.
What do you think that, kind of looking at that because you were in banking, did you have, some banking knowledge that helped you with that deal, or you were still too young?
Not really, because in my short bank career, basically I went through the management training program for about 10 months, and then I was training to be a commercial lender.
Okay.
So didn't really have any experience per se in investment properties, investment real estate.
Okay. And then what was like that condo? I remember it was right off Broughton Drive, right?
Yeah, right off North
Summit
Main.
Drive. Summit Drive. Yep. Sorry, Summit Drive. Yep. What was your biggest lesson you learned from that condo? Like, what's some key takeaways? Because you don't own it today, right?
I don't own it today.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from that is, and I'll probably say this 100 times a day, is hire a professional. Lean on a professional would be my biggest advice to anyone, especially somebody with very little knowledge about how the rental market works, and specifically property management. So I learned a lot of hard lessons in doing that deal. I remember specifically one time it was like a concrete block
building,
condo building.
It's flat roof, right?
A flat roof.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And it was stucco exterior over the concrete block, but they had these huge, like double framed metal windows. And of course we had a bad tenant that cracked the window. So me and my father-in-law had the bright idea that we were going to custom order this window, and we're going to go yank the other one out and reinstall this other one, this new one. And little did I know that window weighed about 200 pounds. So he and I were trying to do this without, it was on the first floor, thank goodness, the condo was, but just trying to figure out a way to get the old window out and put this new window in without breaking it. Because, I mean, gosh, it was, I don't remember the cost, but it was a lot of money for me back then. If that would have slipped and that broke, that would have ruined the budget for the year.
Right.
For the rental property. So just looking back, and just to think that I actually tried to, or we did, we pulled it off to change that huge window, just makes me laugh now, thinking that I thought I could do that efficiently. But we pulled it off. Just something I wouldn't ever tackle again.
And you think that's, expand on that. Why wouldn't you tackle that again? What's your...
Because that window could have fallen, broken, set me back a long way financially. Who knows if we sealed it exactly properly. Basically, when I say lean on the professionals, and I would say the same thing for the maintenance as well. Because, if a kid falls out that window, who installed this window?
Right.
Liability reasons, that kind of stuff. So again, I would rely on the professionals to do the heavy lifting, especially on that type of stuff.
I've just literally had that conversation with a client the other day, just trying to explain. I call it chucking a truck.
Yep.
Versus hiring a professional, but professional not just means like how they dress, but it's also the workers' comp and general liability. Because you hire a handyman and they don't have insurance,
and then they fall out the window.
Or that kid hurts themselves.
Right.
Like, they're coming after you.
That's exactly right.
You're going to be pulled into that, and thankfully we all carry insurance. We have fiduciary responsibilities. Yeah, professional property managers and all that. But
that's a great point. And a lot of owners or investors that are listening out there that may have property managers working for them. They may see an invoice that says, "My gosh, I could have gone out there and changed that for $20." What they don't understand is the liability associated with it.
Right.
There is time for the vendor to go out and do the work. They don't leave the office unless they're getting paid. There's wear and tear on the truck. There's specifically the liability insurance, the workers' comp insurance, all the insurance that are required. Yeah. So sometimes we have a hard time explaining to owners exactly why it may cost a certain amount of money to do a simple repair in their mind.
It's funny. You don't realize it till you're in the middle of it, because, we started a maintenance company several years ago, and we spend tens of thousands on workers' comp, general liability, and all that stuff, and that has to be dispersed across the work orders.
Right.
That's just part of doing business.
Otherwise, you have to charge for it to pay for it.
To pay for it, and it's in the litigious society, It's always something you got to think of in the back of your mind.
Exactly. And,
So,
I'll elaborate that too. The owner that wants to be Mr. Fix It like I was, again, it's coming back to liability. Yes, you may have fixed it for $20 when it cost me $80.
Right.
But, if something, he replaced the electrical socket and something goes wrong, then he is on the hook big time for liability if the house burns down or,
That's true.
God forbid, kill somebody or something like that. So
yeah, and it's having just gone through a fire just recently in April at the apartments, but they want to track down. They want to get to that source of that fire to find, because the insurance company doesn't want to pay.
That's exactly
right.
right.
They didn't used to be. They've always kind of been like searching for that, but now it's gotten more and more because they're trying to reduce that claim and increase their profitability.
Yep, and that's their job. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So one of my favorite, from watching you from afar over the years was that time you swapped houses.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Like, tell the audience, like, what'd that look like? How'd you make that happen? And what was the end result?
Yeah, that was my personal house. So we moved into a house that was arguably the ugliest house in the neighborhood. It was 4 stories. It was like a box. But it was a great location, and it fit our family's needs.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was the ugliest house in the neighborhood, so it was not going to sell easy. We put it on the market. We're trying to sell it. In the meantime, there was another house that we were looking at in a great neighborhood that we'd love to be in. It's maybe necessarily couldn't quite afford it. But there was this house that was completely run down that literally last time it was touched was probably in the mid 60s. And of course it sat on the market for at least a year as we watched it. And, the gutters were falling off, the yard was a jungle. So I just approached the owner and said, hey, look, I'm trying to sell my house. I'd be willing to buy your house. What do you think about we make a trade? And he thought about it, I think, for a week or so. And then we ended up trading houses. So I think I paid him like $50,000, and we did a simultaneous closing. So I got into that house, which, would have been tough to do otherwise. So that worked out great. And of course we had to put a lot of money into it, fixing it up, but and I'm still there today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. That's the house you're in today.
Yep.
What happened to the guy that got your old house? What he
yeah, he eventually sold it. He didn't want to live there. And, I think he had plenty of money, so he wasn't really worried about it. So I guess he realized he couldn't sell his house. So he's going to take a chance. He was willing to take a chance on another house.
Man.
But he eventually sold it. I think he did all right on it too, though.
But his basis in your old house was less than where you're going. Like, he was able to get $50,000 out of cash, right, at closing.
That's correct.
And then just worry about the difference getting it sold.
That's
right?
correct.
What a couple of key things there: price and terms. I don't know if you've heard me say that. Your price, my terms; your terms, my price, and all they can say is no.
That's right.
Right. I mean, that's like, I think that's something I learned from you is just like, hey, just ask.
That's right.
And that's what I want the listeners to get from that is just you never know. We've heard stories of people buying houses with 0 down and owner finance was 0% interest.
Right.
But they gave them the price they wanted.
Right.
So you can always, a lot of people look at deals as being, dead on arrival because the price is too high or I can't afford it.
It's completely limited mindset.
Yeah.
So I have, I'll go into a story about that. Yeah. I have an intern right now that's working for us, and he's taking an interest in investment properties. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of trying to teach him everything I know about what I look for in buying a property and, how we structure deals and all that stuff. And, he's in college now and he's showing this much interest, which I think is awesome. I think he's going to do great. But, he's got that mindset that, hey, I'm in college. There's no way I can buy a house. Mm. And we've talked over and over again about, you buy a house, you get 3 roommates to basically pay the mortgage for you. Mm-hmm. You're living rent free. They're paying the bills. It's a win-win for everybody. And my point to that is, there's not a bank in town that's going to give you money to go buy that property, but there's more to one way to skin a cat. Yep, you got to think outside the box. You got to get creative. And one of those ways is the owner financing, mm-hmm. Whether it be the whole deal, whether it be, the down payment, whatever, you can have co-signers. There's just more than one way to skin a cat that people just don't know about or don't want to put forth the effort.
It's funny. Two things. One is I have an exact similar story this past week where these wholesalers brought a package deal to us, and like, owner won't finance, and he's 74. He just wants to be done. And I'm like, I hear you. I said, and then I just laid it all out there. What if, he did 20% owner finance for 3 years, and we promised to pay him back in 3 years, and then the bank will finance the rest, and then in 3 years we can take him out.
Right.
And they, a couple hours later, owner said he would consider that depending on the price you pay.
Yep.
So price and terms, he was willing to give. So that means I'm willing to pay probably a little bit. I'll pay a premium for that.
Sure.
For him to be, taking on part of that so that I don't have to come out of money buying that property.
I think that's the situation. Everybody wins.
But I think you bring up a great point of the other piece of with that your college guy, like that's Bigger Pockets talks about that all the time. House hacking.
Yep.
That's house hacking at its finest. Get a couple roommates.
That's exactly
pretty much
right.
They're gonna you take the risk, quote unquote.
Right.
But they're paying all the bills. For the most part, you might, instead of a $1,200 note, you might be left with 200 of it or whatever.
That's right.
Or a piece of the utilities and cable. And so I love that strategy, especially for young.
I love it too. And I'm trying to encourage him to do that if he can find a deal, because, even if he comes out of pocket a few $100, he's way ahead of the game.
Well, switching gears for a minute, what can you think of what else you've invested in besides real estate that comes to mind, or business ventures or anything that?
Yeah. Yep. Going back a little bit to this, to the creative financing or whatever, I had a partner back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago where we after my first investment, we started buying up low income, single family homes. And we did similar to what you've done is we've acquired from the bank from foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we ended up with about maybe 30 or 40 houses eventually.
Mm-hmm.
We parlayed that into buying some self-service car washes.
Oh yeah.
All over Greenville County. So at one time, I think we had about 8 self-service car washes around Greenville County. And, that's a lot of investment, a lot of money that we had to pay for all these properties, and we had a lot of debt on it.
Right.
And you'll never guess what it cost me for 40 rental houses and 8 car washes.
Oh, man.
Out of pocket.
Zero?
$250.
$250.
We had to open a checking account.
I had to open a checking.
Yep.
Okay.
So I got my start, basically picking up some owner financing deals, or all of them are owner financing deals, car washes and the rental houses. And then, the banks would give us 100% financing when we're taking out a portfolio of 7, 10, 15 properties at a time.
Mm-hmm.
They would loan us the full purchase price.
So you'd get it owner finance first and then package it up and take it to the banks? Or?
It'd be 2 separate deals.
Okay.
So the ones we bought from owners, they would owner finance them all.
Gotcha. Yeah.
The ones from the bank, they would owner finance them all. So it's 2 separate deals, but either way, we're not having to put any cash down.
Mm.
And I'll never forget going to sleep at night, and I owed like $3 million. And it cost me $250.
Wow.
To get that much in debt.
Did you personally guarantee all that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Me and a partner.
How do you feel about that?
It's kind of scary looking back on that, because that's not what I would necessarily recommend today. Because I've been through, a little bit of the down market and seen the shifts in the market.
Right.
Had we been 100% invested and we had a, downshift in the market, we could have been left holding the bag. So we actually lucked out and sold all those properties and car washes, like right before 2009 crash, basically.
Wow.
So we got lucky, just dumb luck that we got rid of them just in time. So that was just very fortunate.
What are some of your key learnings from having the car wash? Because that's, that when I first moved here in 1998, I had, a dream of owning car washes as well. And I just could never make it work, because you had 2 sets of books and, the guy'd say, "You want to see the cash book? You want to see the IRS
Yeah.
book?" And I'm like, I got personally hung up in that concept, and I just couldn't get past it. So I just never did it.
Yep.
I
remember talking about that with you.
So what was your key learnings? Maybe owning it, operating it, and is there anything that parlayed that into the real estate side as well? Or
I would say it's kind of separate from real estate.
Yeah.
I will say the great thing about owning all the car washes is I always had cash in my pocket, and I mean always had a pocket full of cash.
full of cash,
Yeah.
coins, quarters,
Not coins, dollars.
Dollars? Okay.
Yes. So that was nice.
a wad.
Yes. So me and my partners,
That's
we would
hilarious.
always go out to dinner, take the family out, whatever. So we always had money to do that. The downside for the car washes is just a lot of work, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we started out doing basically we had to go by there every day to sweep up, clean up, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
And, of course, make sure nothing's broken, none of the hoses are broken. And then you have theft problems, you have vandalism. And then eventually we got somebody, we hired somebody to take care of all of them for us. But another lesson is just it's hard to find somebody you can trust, especially when it comes to money
Yeah.
and cash specifically.
Yeah, that's a tough one with cash. Like I've always heard that. Like, everybody that I know that operates them here locally says they go get the cash themselves, and which then creates a whole nother liability because we got out of the cash business on the rent side years ago because we just didn't want our employees liability, getting held up.
Exactly. And we do the same thing
Yeah.
in the rental business.
Yeah.
We do not deal with cash for all those reasons.
So what kind of stuff are you investing in Greenville now? What's your kind of, you mentioned the buy box for your college student. What do you tell him you're looking for? And
Yeah. So I
what gets you excited?
fortunately, again, we were able to sell the car washes. All of them, made a profit. So we did well on that. So we got some cash out of that. So what I've been doing lately is buying properties all over Greenville. What we're trying to do is buy properties in the close to downtown and the emerging areas that are just getting better and better every day. Most of the things I've been focusing on is under $100,000 properties. And our strategy's been, my partner and I have 11 properties now that we've bought. And I think virtually every single one of them, we may pay 60 grand for it and put 20 grand in it.
Mm-hmm.
We may pay 35 grand for it and put 35 in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're ended up with these, $60,000 to $100,000 houses in markets where we know, or we feel like we know, that this is just going to continue to improve and increase in value and a lot of appreciation.
So like the gentrification type
Exactly.
concept. So you're hoping that you're buying at a good price, putting some money in it, and waiting for it to kind of get to you guys as far as emerging kind of street by street, block by block.
Exactly. House by house, actually, on the street.
Does that affect the type of rehab you do now?
That's a good question. It doesn't, because I think talking to contractors, we're extremely rare in that we put a lot more money into it than other contractors.
Okay.
So when I buy a house, I want to make sure everything's going to be in great shape, whether it be the roof, the HVAC, all the plumbing, all that. I'm not putting a Band-Aid on it where it's paint the walls and call it a day. I want to revamp everything where we know it's going to run, or we expect it to run efficiently for 5, 10, 15 years without too much maintenance. Whereas from what I understand, most of the investors in Greenville are buying these $60,000 houses, putting a coat of paint on it, maybe a few kitchen knobs or something, just to pretty it.
Yeah,
and then
lipstick on a pig is what I call that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And then I'm sure and actually dealt with clients like that in the property management. And then the tenants move in and sit on the toilet, and the toilet falls off. Right. Stuff like that. The air conditioner never works. Mm-hmm. So that's just not my style. So, I want to spend the money up front and make sure it's right and do it the right way.
So are you putting upgrades that would be towards retail at some point, or are you just making it a nice rental and you'll ride the rent appreciation as it gets more gentrified?
A little bit of both. I mean, retail wise, we're refinishing hardwoods. We're putting in new fixtures, new new ceiling fans, all plumbing, new fixtures, pretty stuff like that, but also want to make it efficient from a mechanical standpoint as well.
Gotcha. Okay. What, something you talked about earlier, because we did a whole show, or at least a segment on it, limited beliefs. What are some of the limited beliefs you hear out there, and maybe some that you've overcome or that you've seen others that just prevent them from either getting in real estate or succeeding in real estate? What are the top several that come to your mind?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's just lack of knowledge about the industry, about the investment industry. And I think, honestly, I think we all do a poor job of promoting the industry. I think we could all do better at that. Specifically property management, I don't think we as a whole industry, you could walk down the street and talk to 10 people and tell them what you do, and they may look at you like you have four eyes. They don't even know what it means. So I don't think we're doing a good job of promoting exactly what we do in our industry and how we can help people. But other than that, I would say just, with a lack of knowledge, people don't think they can afford it. Don't think they're going to qualify for a bank loan. Don't know that there are other ways to buy properties. They don't know the owner financing tools. And then the other biggest thing I would say would be just people's negative thought process on it. Everybody has a neighbor that has a rental property that tells them, "Oh, this is the worst thing you could ever do. I know my cousin's uncle's brother's Jimmy's had this house and these tenants destroyed it, lit it on fire, tore the deck down, blah, blah, blah." Just, and that scares people. But in reality, that's like 1 in 1,000 that you ever see, that kind of, any kind of substantial damage, I would say.
Yeah. And I think, I use the example Pareto principle all the time, the 80-20 rule, and it's really probably 90-10, maybe 95-5, where, 95% of the people want to do want to pay on time or try to do the right thing or keep your house up.
Sure.
You're not dealing with, say you manage 500 properties, you're talking what, 25 to 50 of them that are constant, your problem children,
right.
When you say, just for listeners to understand the kind of the statistical piece of it.
And I think that goes back to professional management. I think that could be almost 50-50 for an investor that's trying to rent the house on their own, that may not have any idea what they're doing. Yeah. And we've gotten better and better as the years go by. And, the most important part about property management is screening tenants, right? So you want to do a very professional job of screening the tenants to find out, honestly, our eviction rate is less than 1%. So that's 99% of the most important part. Yeah, it's picking the right tenants.
What do you have a horror story?
Inspections. Okay, so right now we inspect properties at least every 6 months while tenants are in the property, and we did not do that then, and that was a huge learning lesson. And this lady ended up being there, I think at least 3 years. Wow. She paid fine, no problems whatsoever, ever getting payments. So, the lesson learned there is you need to, if you're managing your property yourself, you need to inspect it at least every 6 months. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think you should do it a whole lot more than that because you're bordering on invading privacy. Sure. And the tenants can't stand it anyway when you inspect the property. No. But we definitely implemented that. We stick to that. Had another hoarder case.
Like what? Why did that not keep you from?
Because it doesn't bother me at all. To me, it's a relatively simple fix. At the end of the day, it's unpleasant for everybody, but it's a minimal expense. And in this case, where they actually moved themselves, it was very little expense. So that should never hold you back, even if it's a big deal. It's not going to offset the 10, 15-year gains you're going to make on that property. If you're quick to solve the problem?
Quick to solve, yeah. And I think you got to take the emotion out of it, right?
Exactly.
That's
exactly. I tell that to my owners all the time, And a lot of the owners will get in that situation, and they'll just feel so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this, they feel so bad. They'll work with them, even people that can't pay their rent. They're sick, their mom died, whatever. We as a company, we run it like a business, and unfortunately, it really doesn't matter to us what kind of excuses they have about not paying. Basically, if they don't pay, they're gonna get evicted.
Right.
And I feel sorry for some of them. Some of them I don't. Some of them are just telling stories.
Right. They're just playing the system.
Exactly.
Playing the game.
Yeah. And relying on soft landlords.
I'm bouncing around a little bit because you've given a ton of nuggets, but like, because I don't spend a lot of time when Dean and I are on the radio. Like I talk about the professionalism of property management. Also, so you've hit a lot of chords. Like, what are some of the tricks? Because I've seen them as well. Like you've seen tenants play to get into a house. And I got a couple myself. I'll share as well. But
well, the worst tenant is the guy that needs to move today.
Yeah.
So, and I've got cash. I've got all cash. I'll pay in cash.
There's a reason why he's got to move today. That's what people. It's like
99%. That's a red flag.
Like 99% of the people out there don't have to move today.
Right.
Most are planning a month, 6 months,
right.
90 days.
You know what that's usually code for?
What's that?
My eviction's up and they're setting my stuff on the street.
Yep.
So I need to go today.
What's some other tricks you can think of? Have you ever had the? Let me throw this one to you. Have you ever had the fake pay stub?
I don't think I've ever had the fake pay stub that I can remember. That in
Memphis. You'll get this nice looking. You can go online now and create your own pay stub.
Wow.
And so you have to do some due diligence. To your point, we're talking about the professionalism. Mm-hmm. That's what's kind of struck a chord with me. Like where we call that company, and they're like, yeah. Betty Joe doesn't. We've never had a record of a Betty Joe, and you're like, "Are you sure?" I'm sitting here with her pay stub, and like, "No, we got 2 offices, and I'm at the one of them, and I know everybody at the other one, and Betty Joe doesn't work here."
That's right.
So we get some of that, and just.
We make it a habit to call the employers to verify everything. Yeah. So we haven't had that issue yet, but
hopefully you don't get it because that'll mess you up. Like
but let me ask you this: in that case. Obviously we all look for a lot more than just pay stubs. Did you have rental verifications or any of that stuff you could look back on there?
Yeah, I don't know. Remember that all the. I think we just stopped it. It's kind of like you stopped at hello.
Right.
We stopped once we found that, and it's like, whoa, hold on, we're out.
I got you.
I don't know.
That's a good catch.
Yeah, let's stop. We don't even need to check rental.
That's right.
Why check rental when you got a fake pay stub? So we kind of start with the money first, make sure they can afford it. "Quote unquote,"
sure,
that their net income is good and they got a job that's stable and all that
for
stuff.
Sure.
But,
I don't have a person per se.
Yeah.
But I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I definitely have mentors, but they're in the form of, I guess maybe industry legends in property management or in business in general. Yeah. That I'm always reading constantly. I say reading, listening to audiobooks and podcasts. And that's kind of also what I pride myself on and my company on is we are committed to staying on the leading edge of technology. Anything that comes out that's going to make our company better, make our management better. Mm-hmm. We're one of the first to implement it. So we're not scared to jump in there, roll up our sleeves and try something new that's going to be what we feel is effective and more cost efficient for not only us, but our owners and providing better services.
What are some of those that y'all have implemented?
One would be the electronic lock boxes that we're installing on vacant homes, which allows the tenants to go and visit the property on their own after they've been verified through several means, including entering a credit card in and actually paying a 99-cent fee with a legitimate credit card. So we kind of keep close tabs of that. We know exactly who's going into the property, but just in today's society, millennials they don't want to walk around the kitchen with a real estate agent and say, "This is the kitchen, this is the bathroom, this is the living room." They want to do it on their own when they want to do it, weekends, nights. So that's been game changer for sure, and that's definitely helped with our days on market and getting these things rented a lot faster.
And you do stuff like pet screening?
We do, yeah.
Filter Easy?
We do. So we have a few programs that we're doing now. One of them is a master insurance policy where we're requiring all of our tenants to enroll in our it's basically like a renter's insurance component, and it also has a $100,000 liability policy that also covers the owner.
Yeah.
And it's very affordable, so it provides great value and benefit to both the owners and tenants.
Yeah.
Another thing we're doing is Filter Easy program, where we're having filters. All tenants are required to have filters. It's like a subscription program where they're having filters shipped to their door every 90 days. They get an email. Be on the lookout. Your filter's coming. It's got our logo on the box, so they know what it is. It's just a great reminder for them to change the filter. So that's, again, I would say a huge value and benefit to the owner and the tenants as well.
Yeah, because I don't know if anybody in Greenville is doing that.
I'm not aware of
services,
anybody
so that's
doing
pretty cool.
Really that or the lock boxes, honestly.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up. We got a couple more minutes left. I just kind of thought we'd spend the last few minutes talking about Greenville. What does it look like right now? What's going on? Nationwide, there's a housing shortage. Nationwide, there's 1 million plus new households and can't keep up with demand. But how's that affecting rental and just new construction and all that stuff in Greenville?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Well, Greenville has always been a great market for the last several years or whatever. One of the top in the U.S. actually. I can't remember the number, but we have a ridiculous number of people moving to Greenville every day.
Mm-hmm. How big is Greenville now? Do you have any ideas?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay.
But I know they're building a ton still in Greenville, and specifically downtown. I'm sure you've noticed when you visit that there's a new apartment complex building on every corner downtown.
Yeah.
And it's quite frankly, it's amazing to see all the construction. And I wonder the same thing, where are all these people going to come from to fill these units? But from all indications, they're being filled. But what I have also seen from that is the rental prices, dropping a little bit.
To get
just due to all the demand that's come online. I manage several units in the older downtown buildings, and we've seen those. Unfortunately, the rents, decreasing a little bit with all the new competition out there.
Go ahead.
And I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case for outside of the city, downtown area.
Just the downtown specifically. Yeah. What? It's funny you said that, because I just had lunch with a banker on Monday, and he asked me that he said they're financing apartments like crazy in downtown, midtown, what they call uptown here in Memphis, and he's like, "Do you really think they're going to fill them up?" And I'm no economist, and I'm no statistician or whatever, but everything is indicating that we keep growing households and families, and people are leaving you have a child leaving, in August next month,
right?
So they got to live somewhere.
That's exactly right.
So I don't see it slowing. I mean, until we have something with the economy slowing us down, I don't see that. But I think when it does slow down, I think that's when we're going to see some issues with that overgrowth of apartments and
I do too. And honestly, I think maybe sometime in the next 2 years, I think we are going to see another little pullback in the real estate market, because in Greenville right now, the real estate market, the sales market is on fire. And I've kind of been on the sidelines as far as investing, because it's just so hard to get a decent deal right now.
Yeah,
people are overpaying, and that's another lesson I've learned, is to be patient. And when the economy starts to tank, I've got cash in the bank ready to invest.
That's one of our favorite phrases we use from Warren Buffett: "Be greedy when others."
That's exactly right.
Are
nervous.
Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful.
That's exactly right.
So we're kind of in the same boat. Let's wait a little bit. Buy opportunistically, but let's wait for when everybody's scared to death.
That's exactly.
That's when
my
the prices
strategy.
are going to go down, and we're going to try to get as many as we can, and ride the next wave. So but nobody knows when it's coming.
That's right.
You keep hearing. But last thing, and we'll wrap this up. This is your third trip to Memphis. What are some of the key differences you see, like in Memphis versus Greenville? What is anything popped to your mind that you kind of see or can understand from the rental real estate side? Yeah,
it kind of amazes me on the rents that you quoted. For the 3 bedrooms, for example. That's just amazing to me that the rents are that low.
Yeah.
And I know nationally, Memphis is a great investment area to invest in. I know a lot of you have tons of out-of-town investors.
Right.
Probably one of the best in the country to invest in. So I guess you got that going for you. It's just a little surprising, though, that I don't know that the rents are that low.
Yeah, and we still have the best rent to price ratio. So that's just a blessing to be in this city, but it comes with its challenges. Not saying that's,
Right.
it's all,
Well, that's good
peaches
for
and
you
cream.
as an investor. That's good for you as a property management owner.
That's right. So wrapping it up, how can people reach you or get some more information about Greenville and your property management
Sure.
company and what you guys do in Greenville? What's the best way to reach you?
Sure. Yeah. So if anybody's interested in talking with me about possibly investing in real estate in Greenville, feel free to reach out to me. My office number is 864-527-4509, or they can email me at hunter@marchantpm.com.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing all your insights. You've learned a lot and grown a lot over the years, and just excited to be able to share with our audience. So it's been good.
It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you having me. I always enjoy my time here in Memphis.
Yes, sir. Get some barbecue.
Yes.
I swear I can't get enough listening to